It's Thursday. It's 6 o'clock in the evening, which means it's one of my favorite times of the week because it is the ABC of CBD. It's groundbreaking, it's award nominated, and it's really interesting as weeks go by. This just seems to gather ahead of steam. And, well, I think we need to bring on the star of the show. You know him, you love him. He is the hunk of hemp. He is the Maharaja of marijuana. He is the Count of cannabinoids. He is, of course, Ollie Mammon.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you, Oliver.
Welcome to the ABC of CBD.
Yeah.
Love it.
It is good. It is good. And it's very interesting, Ol, how the influence of the show is beginning to spread, how the word is getting out, and how all the arguments, I had a guest on my daily show yesterday, and all the arguments you've put forward are slowly becoming mainstream.
See, I do. It's one thing I've noticed. So a lot of the guests we've had over the last 2 years on this show, over the last 87 episodes
87 episodes.
I've started to see their stories emerge on other people's podcasts. And, like it's almost like the stories are starting to, like we've heard this term before, the echo chamber. They're starting to almost leave the echo chamber and starting to become a lot more mainstream. So, you had Karen Gray on your show like 2 days ago or yesterday.
Yesterday, she was fantastic.
That wasn't organized by me. So it's quite lovely, the fact that people like epileptic mothers, like mothers of epileptic children like Karen can come on and share their story.
Yeah, she wanted to, and it was great. And there was a great reaction. What is interesting, because there's quite a separate audience to my daily show 3 times a week, and the ABC of CBD, and the audience reacted because for many of them, Oliver, they were hearing these stories for the very first time.
And that's
they had no idea of the problems and the struggles these people
had. A lot of the time, it's like judging book by the cover. So people won't listen to this show because it's the ABC of CBD, and they're like, it's too cannabis focused. But as soon as you take that cannabis story and you place it in a mental health environment, or you place it in a struggle environment with a different narrator kind of leading the story, all of a sudden, it starts to get the attention. And I feel like if that's one of the only things we end up doing is giving people a first platform for them to move on to, have other platforms, to give people comfort in telling their story, to then be able to articulate their words better on other platforms, I've done my job. Do you know what I mean?
You should be very proud of what
I am proud.
You've achieved.
I'm very proud.
Let's pay the rent, shall we?
Hell yeah.
I'm sure you've heard before that good quality CBD needs to be really, really expensive. This is the new view of CBD. A product created by users for users. A product at an affordable price, available everywhere, at any time, at the simple click of a button. Just CBD and MCT oil. No additives, no preservatives, and no flavor enhancers. It's a simple subscription-based service. The cleanest possible CBD delivered to your door for the lowest possible price. Your product, your rights for the lowest possible price.
Well, this is a bumper show. Not one guest. Not two. But, ladies and gentlemen,
thrice.
3 guests. I'm going to let you do
not once, not twice, but thrice.
3 times a lady.
Shall I do my little introduction and then bring them on?
Please do. I think that behooves you.
So, episode 87, as I just said, our guests today are Aaron Spink, Sean McCullough, and Darryl Johnson. Now, you might know them, you might not know them. They have a brand in the UK called Orange County CBD. It's one of the biggest and actually, from my perspective, one of the most transparent, reliable brands on the UK market. They are actually competitors of mine. We do zero work together. I've always just kind of appreciated the way they work. So my first interaction with them was about 4 years ago, 2018, 2019, saw them at Expo, and I saw that I was actually a judge on the panel for Best CBD Award that year at the Expo. And I walked past this stall and I saw something which was a little bit more, you call it transparent than everyone else. What they did was they had a QR code on their bottle, and the QR code enabled the end consumer to kind of understand exactly how the product was made, where it was made, what the strength was, why it was what it was, et cetera, et cetera. And it gave this almost this entire education, which an individual might not be able to give to the end consumer through the bottle. And I got very blown away by this because it was very much, like a hand-holding experience, which is what we need in this industry. It's a new space. A lot of you know, a lot of new words, a lot of new education, which most people don't understand. And here there was this brand, which was, you could call spearheading education through technology, enabling the end consumer to understand more about the products they were consuming. Now, that's my first interaction with them. You might also recognize Orange County from the billboards they've got positioned up and down the motorways. You might recognize them from expos and conferences. You might have had the luxury of trying their products. They really are fantastic. And, you know, you might have actually seen them like out and about. They do a ton of corporate social responsibility. You might have got one of their ice creams if you live up in Liverpool, and you might have, you know, what's it called, attended one of their family events. They do a lot for their local community. The brand itself is a lot deeper than the products you see. The work they do is a lot deeper than what we actually get to see commercially. And I really wanted to bring them on because I believe these, you know, I know these three guys. I've bonded with them over the last 4 years, but I believe that their story really, I want to say, humanizes and gives a lot more efficacy to their product. It makes you understand why they do what they do. It's not a novelty.
Did you say ice cream?
Yeah, so they've got ice cream vans which they release onto the city to go and give free ice cream to kids.
I wonder what music it plays.
I don't know,
That's
probably some Bob Marley or something like that, probably, right? But I mean, they're like an incredible group of people. These cheeky northern chaps have built an incredible brand in the UK, a proper, transparent, open, trusting relationship with clients, great relationship with competitors, and they're generally known as bringing warmth to this industry and to everyone around them. So if we can welcome on Aaron Spinks, Sean McCullough, and Darryl Johnson, we can have our show.
Hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
All three of them. I love it. Love it.
It's like the Proclaimers +1.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining the show. You know, I've been trying to get you guys on this for a very long time. I understand the fact that you don't like me that much. You don't want to come on my show, but I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate Darryl in the middle. Darryl's the one in the middle. Aaron's on the left. Sean's on the right, in case anyone doesn't know. Aaron's actually got his little name tag underneath his shirt right there, which is fine. But yeah, basically, thanks to Darryl, we managed to actually get them on the show. They've been very reluctant, the other two, to participate. So let's thank our man in the middle.
The emails.
Seriously, thousands of emails. Nah, mate, I don't want to do this. I don't want to. But, you know, I wanted to share their story, and I want everyone out there to know them as well as I know them. And I want you guys to understand the energy that's behind them. You guys being the audience, I want you to understand the energy that is behind the brand of Orange County. So I'm just going to start right at the beginning. Like your first interactions with cannabis, your first social interactions, your first medical interactions, the first time cannabis and cannabinoids were opened up as being medicinal in nature. Basically, what opened your eyes to the CBD market? What made this? What was the start of this journey for you guys?
The very, very start was me and Sean were on a lads trip on Route 66. So we were just going around touring America. Started off in Chicago, going through all the different states and stuff. And then we got to sort of the outskirts of California by Vegas. And we bumped into a bunch of crazy guys, should we say. And they were telling us about all this, Sean was already suffering with a lot of pain. He's got regional pain syndrome in his leg, so he's familiar with pain. And the guys were sort of explaining about it, seeing the benefits and stuff, and we were like, yeah, all right. They were nice guys, so we humoured them, and we were chilling with them for a couple of days. But they were explaining it, and then towards the end, they took us out to show us hemp fields, which was just it blew our mind. We just didn't grasp that stuff like that even gets grown. It's more like in the films when you see those crazy American films and you see them all in the field. Well, that's what we were doing, walking around looking at the hemp and that. And Sean as well actually forgot. Well, he didn't forget. I think you were running low or whatever on his meds because we'd been there for 3 weeks. So they're like, look, bro, try it out and all that stuff. So he ended up getting on it and was trying it, and he was blown away by the difference in the pain just instantly. So obviously we were with them for a little bit longer.
And was that your first interaction with medical cannabis, Sean?
It was, yeah. I'd had an accident about 6 years before, and I'd tried lots of opioids, lots of anti-inflammatories, and don't get me wrong, they work, but there's too many chemicals going into my body, and I'd rather go down the natural aspect. So when we come across the CBD flower, it really helped. It helped with the didn't take the pain away, but just helped me deal with the pain a little bit more, took the sharpness out of the pain.
See, that's a story I've never actually heard before. I think it's quite important because, you know, like our company as well was founded out of pain. You know, Nathan, my business partner, has rheumatoid arthritis. I have Tourette syndrome. You know, our journey was also started out of struggle. You know, like I'm not going to say I like the fact that you're a sufferer because that's messed up. I can't say that. But I kind of, you know, like.
I'm beginning to see why he doesn't want to come on the show. I'm just beginning to understand this now. It's subtle.
But I mean, like it's quite beautiful that, you know, this chance encounter whilst on a road trip was kind of the, you know, you could have spoken to anyone. If you had just turned left and not turned right and spoken to a different group of people, you might have ended up having a whiskey company. Do you understand what I mean? It's quite interesting, you know, or you might have ended up just still back on the opioid. You would have been in a, you know, in that trap like so many other people are, and just this Orange County CBD across the UK would have never been a thing. And you know, the amount of other people who have similar pain conditions to you, Sean, who have probably been healed because of that one chance encounter, it's actually quite beautiful. You know, you can't really write it. Do you know what I mean? It's like almost like cannabis found you. I feel like that was the episode we made last week. We had Alexandra on the show, Alexandra Dunhill on the show, and we called the episode, you know, Cannabis Chooses You, Cannabinoids Choose You. I think this is also another prime example of how, you know, like almost this world was thrust into your life as opposed to you going out there looking for it. So carry on. So you went on this. So you went to this field and you've started consuming cannabinoids. Do you mind me asking what you were consuming? Were you using CBD? Were you using a broad spectrum extract? Were you using a full spectrum?
Flower.
Like what were you actually like? What did you could call it that? What did your relief come from? You know, like in America, they have a plethora of products which we don't have access to in the UK.
Yeah, well, what we started with was the flower, and that's all I really knew about CBD was it come from the hemp plant. It was just flower at the time. So yeah, we started with the flower, and then we moved along and got into the oils and things like that. But we didn't try the oils until the later stage after the flower.
Very nice, very nice. And then, so what was the next step? So you had this chance encounter. You're on the outskirts of California. You're in Nevada. You know, you got this interaction with this group of people, and you built a relationship with them over 2 days. Your pain, Sean, has been, you know, taken care of. Did you carry on your road trip and not think about it, or did your road trip did it turn into a business trip, and where you're like, oh shit, we got to do something, as in like what was the next stage between, you know, Sean having his realization that this helps him, Aaron being the designated driver because, you know, whatever's happening, because Sean's now medded off his tits and can't drive to Winnebago anymore.
I definitely wasn't the designated driver.
Is that the formal medical language?
Sorry.
Is that the formal medical language?
What? Stoned off his tits?
That's the one. You're speaking as a GP, obviously. Yeah. Okay.
But before that, we thought we were getting taken to Murder Mountain and Sean was going to get bummed in the hills. So it was a bit sketchy at the time when we're getting led up the hills and up these mountains, and we're thinking, we've only known these two guys a couple of days, you know, but it was very
You've seen the film Deliverance, have you, boys?
Yeah. And
there you go. I wouldn't go up there.
Yeah, Murder Mountain literally terrifies me.
Chainsaw Massacre, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So what was the next stage? You know, how was it like bringing Orange County to the UK? How did it then start? What was the next level in this journey?
It was a slow process at first because we got back. We knew it was magic. Sean just couldn't stop going on about it. And it was more, we kept in touch with the guys and we're still speaking to them, but it was probably about a year in the making. And like, we're back and forth. And then they sent a bit over for us to sort of test the waters. And, you know, we made a little product, and it was funny because we were making it on the kitchen table, like all scared to spill a drop and all messing about and that. And
it cost a fortune when we first started.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so we're doing this math. I actually had a little accident in the lab yesterday. I spilled like 100 grams of CBD isolate on the floor. Now, in today's world, that's like 30 quid. So it's all right. When I was first starting in this industry, I was like 5 grams worth of CBD, and I had a little moment, and I looked down, and I had like the little panic, and I was like, no, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. And I thought, you know, if I had done that 5 years ago, bankrupt. Done. Do you know what I mean? I literally would have been.
As an outsider, how much would that have been?
So like originally, like we were paying like £50 a gram when we first started in like
So how much would
2015,
your spillage?
2016.
How much would the spillage have been? Just to
Like I said, 5 years ago would have been about £5,000. Today is about 30 quid.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a massive. The price of extracts has dropped dramatically.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah,
that's extraordinary. Okay.
But yeah, I understand this whole idea of not wanting to spill a drop. Do you know what I mean? Like that whole idea of shall we? You know, what happens if we make a 3,000 milligram tincture? Well, it's going to cost you 165 quid to gamble. So I mean, like, you know, I remember that time. So yeah, so you're in the kitchen. You guys are like, you know, like formulating. You're like messing around, trying to learn what you guys can learn. What year was this, if you don't mind me asking?
2017, late to 2018.
Amazing. So, and your road trip was 2016.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you guys like it was quite a while. So you started getting products in. You started like you call it learning. What were you guys doing before?
I had a locksmith company.
Okay.
So I used to break into people's houses for a
I was
living.
about to say, you know, if I
burglar. Got it written all over his face.
So Aaron was a locksmith dude, you know. Darryl was the circuit guy who used to cut the alarms to make sure, and you know, getaway driver.
The other one was the getaway driver in the Cortina. Okay,
exactly. No, so go and talk to me. So you were a locksmith, Darryl. What were you doing before? And Sean, what were you doing before?
So I was based in the vape industry. So I've been in the vape industry for around about 6-7 years now. So that was where my sort of background come from. I was working for another Liverpool-based company. We won't name drop on the podcast, but another Liverpool-based company. And that's sort of where my journey started with CBD, was basically being interacted with by Aaron through social media. I say interacted, more like peppered.
Oh,
more like peppered, like on a daily basis. But when you hear the backstory, and it just makes you want to be involved. Like the story where it's all come from. They're not two lads that have come with millions of pounds, gone over to America looking for a business, an opportunity to start. So the opportunities found them really, and it's through their own hard work and graft, you know, to be able to raise the capital to be able to start the business, and then to sort of be informed about the story and where they've come from and the struggles they've gone through to put the company in a position where it was when I started. That it was something that I couldn't really give up the opportunity. I mean, you know, Aaron probably would be afraid to say I was at this company for 5 or 6 years previous to this, so I was already well established in the company and had been there for a long time. So to believe someone's dream and to sort of side with them and go along with it was a big risk for me. But look where we are today. Literally, you know, it's nothing that we'd ever change.
I understand, and also there is definitely it's you know, from a you call it from a competitor perspective. The one thing I always saw is you cared about your end consumer. And, you know, understanding Sean's journey, because that's one thing I didn't actually know, you know, like I bonded more with you, Darryl, and with you, Aaron, than I have with you, Sean, you know, like not favoritism. Sean, I like you just as much. You're just as lovely as him.
You want to see what we've got
a hole?
He's
digging a hole for yourself.
Yeah, we've had the zip time.
so I'm going to go. All right. Yeah. I'll say no.
I've always got a
Basically,
JCB digger to help Ollie get out of this.
a winch. I've got a winch in front of my truck.
A winch
so
on your Jeep.
Yeah, there we
Winch
go.
on your
That's
Jeep. That's why you got it.
Get the little remote control. So yeah, so basically it's like when I first met you, Aaron, the one thing I could tell is that you really did care about the end consumer. So that expo which I first met you, I remember going stall to stall to stall, asking people questions about how they make their product, why they make their product that way, and who is their end consumer. And very few people actually had the answers. It was almost as if they weren't making their products themselves and they were just selling someone else's. And when I came up to you, it was very much like to scan the QR code. You know, any question you have is on that QR code. And if there's not a question, if the answer is not on that QR code, ask me the question. And there were questions not on that QR code because I'm an arsehole and I can think of ridiculous questions to ask people. But generally, like every question was answered. And from that position, it made me feel very comfortable that, look, if a customer or a patient out there hated me and went for you, I would feel very happy knowing that they would still in good hands. And that's what I've always seen you guys as doing that. And I kind of like the fact, once again, not that you're in pain, Sean, but I like the fact that you guys have this story behind you. And I understand, Darryl, why you call it jump on that bandwagon, because, you know, when there's emotion and there's, you know, that much chance, and it's almost like they've been selected from a hemisphere by people who want to see them with this in their hands. You know, it's like, as a young entrepreneur, you've got to see fire where there's fire, and there's definitely fire here in a good way. So I understand that that idea from you. How was it for you, Sean?
The start.
Yeah.
Well, I come from the car industry, so I used to work on the cars, used to get dirty every day, and then when I had my accident, that sort of put me on office life, and I wasn't out in the garage no more. So to go from something that I've done all my life into the CBD sector was a bit scary for me, but there was nothing else for me to do anyway. So it was all or nothing for me. Amazing. It's amazing from the start. And everything with Orange County has happened for a reason. The three of us sitting together is all happened for a reason. Everything's fell into place. And with me coming from the suffering side, I've got the eyes of the patient with me. So I look out what's best for the end consumer.
Very nice. And you've got Darryl, who understands fast-paced consumer goods because he comes from that space. So you can see that almost he's your commercial mind. And you've got, Aaron who's along for the journey. It's pretty good, isn't it?
It's not saying like the entrepreneurialism of Aaron is like.
I know. Like at the end of the day, someone's got to be there and see it. Do you know what I mean? Like someone's got to see it, someone's got to do it, and someone's got to feel it. The senses are all working. Do you know what I mean? I think it's quite beautiful. I really do. I think you guys are a real trifecta to be reckoned with, and I can't wait to see what else you guys do in this industry. Why did you choose the name Orange County CBD? And why did you choose like where did all that come from?
Because that's where it all started, Orange County.
It all started in Orange County. And is Orange County CBD an American company which you've partnered up with, or is it just yours?
We were in California at the time. We were actually in Orange County when we were chilling with the guys, and it was just fate. The name just rolled off our tongue, and we were telling family and friends when we were ready to set up, and we were saying, well, it was almost like we had like 10 names, and the rest just fell off, and it was just that.
Orange County is a great name, though.
It sounds incredible.
It's a very even when you were starting off, it sounds bigger. I mean, I don't know where you are now, but it sounds bigger than when you were just a startup. So it's a really good idea. It's a very good idea.
It's also lovely because it's from where you came. Do you know what I mean? Like if your road trip to Orange County had never happened, then like it would not have existed. So it's quite lovely. It's like like the whole David Beckham, Victoria Beckham thing, naming their kids after where they were conceived. It's quite lovely. Do you know what I mean?
Thank God they didn't get passionate in Scunthorpe.
Amazing. So let's talk about transparency and traceability. So like I said, this QR code, this was like this is what really opened my eyes up to you guys originally. What really made me what made me fall in love with you. I know you've done advancements with that over the last few years. You've made it better, more precise. You've made it, what's the word? You've really identified the user experience, and you've given the user everything they need in order to make their experience more comfortable. What was the you call it the brainchild behind that innovation? Because you were doing that before anyone else in the industry. Now, quite a few people have imitated you. Imitation is the best form of flattery. Yeah. But what was the brainchild behind doing something like that when no one else in the industry was doing it anywhere? As in, what made you decide to, you call it? Because I've always preached transparency, and I've always preached accuracy. I've always preached, providing a what's the word? A standardized product for the end consumer something they can rely on and something they can understand. You guys literally did it. What was the brainchild behind that? What was the innovator? What was the idea behind that? Who was the lead of that? Do you understand what I'm trying to ask? Where did that idea come from and how?
I think it was just a collective between us, just brainstorming and stuff. And we knew that the industry was a bit murky at the time. There was a lot of cowboys. There was a lot of people saying that there was this in there. There was a lot of BBC press, bad press, saying, "Oh, we've tested all these products and only one of them contained the CBD levels that they should." And I mean, you've got the likes of you guys. You were doing it properly at the time. There was a couple of others, but most of the people it wasn't transparent. Everyone said it's lab tested. Well, where's your lab report? So it's all right saying it, but doing it's a different thing. So I think we just had the sort of eureka moment to, well, why not put the lab report on every single bottle? And then, as I say, we've just sort of evolved it from there. The very first QR code we done, it took you to a landing page with all the lab reports on. But obviously, we've honed it since then. So every batch we do now, you can scan it and it'll take you to the exact batch when it was made. And there's a lot more to it now, and there's traceability. We're also building
fantastic idea. It's
Incredible.
absolutely it's revolutionary.
And
It's
also,
a great idea.
like
I
how
love it.
like in our industry you've got this thing where like primary packaging needs to have all the information, secondary packaging doesn't. So what happens most of the time, people get a package, they get their little box, they pull their bottle out of the package, they throw the package away. So what happens is then you've basically lost all your information, all of the personal information that you could have on 4 sides of a box, which is all the stuff you really need.
And Ollie, is that law? Is
that's
that law? Okay.
That's law. Like it needs to be somewhere. So what they've done is they've enabled all of that packaging, all of that information to kind of always be at the
Fingertips.
Fingertips exactly of the end consumer,
Right.
which is, and it's pretty remarkable. It really is pretty remarkable. And you guys have gained a lot of traction for that, right? As in that gave you a lot of, you could call it, comfort in the industry. A lot of end consumers feel very comforted by the fact that they know exactly what they're consuming with your product. I think that's probably not one of the only reasons, but one of the main reasons why you guys shot up into the hemisphere is because people know where they stand with you.
Yeah, it's a trust factor, and I think, like you say, no one was doing that at the time. You had the brands like Taylor Mammon who had the trust factor anyway, but a lot of other people wasn't providing any trust. So I think with us doing that, it massively helped us. It's I think people started to see like, okay, who are these new kids on the block? That they are doing things a bit differently, and it gave us a lot of traction. Even for like the likes of the white label customers and stuff, we were getting people coming over to us wanting to just work with us just through you can see the lab reports on the bottle. Okay, well, can we work with you? Can we have your product? So that gives us a lot of traction as well.
Especially in a world which is so, call it sketchy, unfortunately this world is very sketchy. There's some great people involved, there are also some terrible people involved, and over the last 5 years that we've built this industry, we've seen a lot of chances come in and out. And when there is a lot of, you call it wool over eyes, it's sometimes nice to have a bright shining light. I think like something which is almost like a beacon you can hone in on. And I feel like that light on transparency is definitely a beacon in this industry, and definitely necessary for a lot of people, because most people have no idea where they stand. They really don't, and it's quite sad actually. Like we're still 5 years on, and you still hear questions of what's in this bottle. It's still a common question, even after novel food, which we'll get onto. We'll get onto novel food in a minute.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we have to. So other forms of innovation, because another thing, like I mentioned in my introduction, is you drive up and down the motorways, you're very likely to see an Orange County billboard. Like you've been quite innovative with your advertising and marketing. Navigating this space is difficult in terms of advertising and marketing. It's not straightforward. You've built some incredible brand awareness. Like what's been the like who's been the spearheader behind your advertising, like your advertising ideas and your marketing ideas, like who came up with the idea for the ice cream bus? Do you know what I mean? Like, let's go give free ice cream to kids. Like, who came up with that? All of these things are so innovative, and corporate social responsibility is on such a high. I mean, like where do all these ideas come from? How do you find time to do them? And everything. Let's talk a bit about that.
I think it's just having a fantastic team around us. We're quite lucky with the people we've got. Everyone brings something to the table. So in the early days, it was like me, Sean, and Darryl, the three stooges, always messing about. But now we've got heads of marketing, heads of sales, we've got heads of innovation. So we've got smart people that sort of, we sit in a room and we just brainstorm and just come up with like wacky stuff. Like some of the stuff it's never seen the light of day. Like for instance, we had an alien invasion planned. So we were last on New Year, we had a drone thing planned out. There was going to be like 1,000 drone things were going to all come up above the bridge, and it was going to look like an alien landing over Tower Bridge and outside the Parliament and stuff. And then the last minute, it was going to flick to Orange County CBD, and it was just we were planning for that to go viral. But that didn't come off for various legal reasons. We needed two football pitches right next to the Thames to be able to land them and take them down.
Yeah, but then also the fact that the MOD would probably come and shoot your drones out of the air because they would think that someone's launching an attack on Parliament is probably not a good idea. Just to throw out, like, I'm sitting here thinking, whoever came up with that fire. I kind of want to see you guys do that just for the lawsuit. I just want to.
Do you
would
remember
have.
when Gail
The only
Porter,
problem was the football
when
field.
Gail Porter was projected against the Houses of Parliament? Do you remember that?
How old was I?
You were about 3. Gail Porter, and you saw her bottom if she had no clothes on, and it was for one of the magazines, and it was hugely effective. Hugely effective. She regrets it terribly now, but it was great fun at the time, I have to say.
I think we should do that drone idea. I'm fully behind it. fully behind it.
So was I. It was done. We had it all done. We had the drone company done it. All the sort of the computer program was set. We just needed 2 football fields worth of landing space to take the drones off, because you only get about 10 or 15 minutes flight, so it's got to be close to where we wanted it, and it had to be over the Thames to have a massive impact. And we were just gonna, for the first, we were gonna do like 5 trips. The first few trips, it was just gonna be a glowing, pulsating light, and then we were like, everyone was gonna take the stair, and everyone's all looking up at the sky. And then on the last one, it all changed over to Orange County CBD. So that would have been epic, but we couldn't pull it off. But we have loads of wacky
Watch
ideas.
the skies. Like one day it's going to happen. Everyone start watching the skies.
Yeah.
And so let's say this ice cream thing, okay? Because I think it's one of the cutest things in the world. So you guys have gone out there. You've got a couple of ice cream vans, and on a hot summer day, you just go out and you give free ice cream to kids, right? You give free ice cream to kids and their parents in the parks.
Not just kids. It was everyone. It was like we went round city centres, hospitals. We went to all the hospitals to give all the key workers them. Children's hospital, adults hospitals. We just went everywhere, building sites. So we just stopped where anyone looked hot and they needed a bit of a refreshment. We were just pulling up and
it's just normal ice cream, like a normal Mr. Whippy.
Yeah, just a Mr. Whippy, and drinks as well. We were giving drinks and ice cream out.
And literally, it's just for kindness.
Yeah. We've got another project that we're doing. It's Orange County in the community, so it's separate from the CBD side. It's not to do with the CBD. We're not doing it. It's a like non-for-profit. We're just doing it to give back, because obviously we're lucky to be in a position where we are, and we've had phenomenal growth. So it's just time to give back.
But also your community is like, you're like, you provide a lot of jobs to the community. The jobs keep your company alive. You know what I mean? Like you are a Liverpool-based group of, like you're a Liverpool-based consortium, and, all of your staff and everything comes from the local community, right? So, I mean, like it's like the more you grow, the more you're involved, and the more you're involved, the more you want to take care of the people who have helped you grow. It's quite beautiful, I don't, once again, there aren't that many other cannabis companies in the UK or even the world who are doing corporate social responsibility. It's like kind of left for the you could call it the big companies out there, the British Telecoms and the British Gases and all of these companies. They're the ones who feign corporate social responsibility. It's quite lovely that you guys have done that. Like, give us a couple of like do you guys do anything else? Do you guys is there anything else you guys do, or anything else you guys are going to start doing? Like in the winter, you're going to change it to like hot chocolates and stuff like that?
Yeah.
It's a good idea, right?
Yeah,
it's a good idea, right?
We've got loads of things planned. We can't sort of tell you anything yet because they haven't been done. The ice cream one's been done, but we've got another big ones in the pipeline over the next couple of months.
Do me a favor, next time we do an expo, bring the ice cream van. Okay? like hook us up, because I'll be honest with you, like we also want ice cream. Do you know what I mean? I know we're not from Liverpool, but I mean we also want a Mr. Whippy, so just don't forget us, okay? Like I gave you awards and stuff. So do you find that it helps with brand awareness, or do you find that mainly it's just for corporate social responsibility? As in, like, do you advertise it? Is your like ice cream van an Orange County ice cream, or is it literally just under the radar? You're just going out there just to do good things.
Orange County OCC community, so we don't advertise the CBD. We don't want it to be about the CBD. It's separate. This is just putting smiles on people's faces and just cheering people up. It's anything to do with the business. Obviously, it's funded by the business, but it's a separate entity.
Your karma balance must be incredible. I mean, like, no, seriously, it must be. I mean, if you think about your day jobs, you go out your way to make people feel happy, comfortable, and it puts smiles on their faces, and you put them in a position where they, you create understanding, and the more we understand, the more we feel comfortable anyway. So, I mean, like, that's your day job, and your extracurricular activities are putting smiles on other people's faces. I mean, like, that's pretty epic. I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. It's pretty fucking cool. Just, it's worth a swear word. It was definitely worth a swear word.
From point of view, it's very rewarding. We get a kick out of it.
Isn't it interesting, though, Ollie? You've hit on a really good point, because I had to deal with a lot of corporate social responsibility. It became the buzz phrase, and then the buzz phrase shifted to mental health in the workplace, but that's another conversation. And you go to a lot of these events, and it's the huge companies who can afford it, and it's a lot of show and tell. You know what I'm saying? They make a big hoo-ha out of look what we're doing. And you think, are you really? Are you actually? Once you get into the workplace, and I'm always interested in that, because it's very close to the heart of everything we want to do on Men's Radio Station. Obviously, we're about mental health and well-being. But listening to the three of you, the three amigos there up in Liverpool, it's so interesting about the karma and doing it. And when you do something that good, it does come back on you. It comes back in a really good way. And not everything is about the bottom line. Not everything. I mean, you're obviously very innovative, but sometimes just doing stuff and people go, yeah, that's great. And it creates a really good, Ollie would say vibe, I would say atmosphere, or let's be a bit more professional. It creates a really good relationship between yourself, the end user, and the public, who are just curious as to what this is all about.
Persona, right? The persona.
You're taking away, I'm going to be very crude, but you're taking away the misconception that all of this comes out of a BMW with blacked out windows and hip hop at 3,000 decibels, and it's a proper legitimate industry that is there to help. Ollie's converted me completely, I have to say.
Yeah, exactly. Russ is now a full-on supporter of the cause.
Well, I'm a supporter.
You're going to see him outside Parliament, dressed all in green.
Well, you won't say that, but I am a supporter of the cause.
Cannabis leaf on his forehead.
forehead.
So, talking about like awards and being rewarded, and considering you started getting awards way before like right from the start of your journey, you guys get a lot of awards. I think that's the best way of saying it. I mean, like a lot of awards, when you go and visit your stall and expo, you can't see your stall behind all of the awards. It's like you have this wall of awards, and then like behind that is the Orange County stall. You recently won what's it called? Best Startup of the Year, Best Northern Startup of the Year, or something like that. And I know I've given you at least 1,000 awards over the years, and it's constant recognition and constant praise. Now, one thing I want to throw out there, in this industry, it's not easy to get an award. There is so much competition out there. You've got 2,000 brands, all of whom, kind of can be seen to be doing the same things unless you look really deep, and it's quite hard to differentiate between, the real and the fake, and the winners and the losers, like the people who are there to help and the people who are there to hinder you. It's quite hard to sometimes tell those things apart. You guys get the recognition you deserve, and you get the praise you deserve. Have you found that encourages you to do greater things, or do you find that it makes you feel like you're the best company out there? And like what's the effect of getting those awards for you? What's the effect of getting that recognition for you?
I think from day one, I've always said it. Probably sounds a bit arrogant, but I've always said it. We are going to be the biggest and best CBD company on the planet. It's a fact. It still is a fact, and we will be the biggest and best CBD company on the planet. So it's nice to get awards, but it just shows you we're getting further ahead, and we're nowhere near even where we need to be. We're probably about 1/10 of our journey to where we need to be to get to the world dominating sort of place where we need to be. But getting awards, it's great. It's
what happened. The Beatles cracked America. There's no reason you boys can't. It's been about 60 years. It's been about 60 years since
Scousers
group of Liverpuddians, left the docks to go and take over the new world. So I mean, I believe in you boys. I know the market. I can't see why you guys couldn't. As in knowing the market, I can't see where you guys would fall short of doing something like that. What would you say your mission statement was? How do you set your compass? What's your driving force? I know you want to reach this pinnacle of being the best company ever. What's your mission statement to get there? How do you set your compass to get there? What's your driving force to get there?
It's just one step at a time, really. Just taking one step at a time. And it's like, if you look back, if you say like 3 years ago where we were now, if 3 years ago, we would be like, there's no chance you could even get to where we are. It's impossible. So it's just bite-sized chunks, really. And I think the next chunk is we're going to America. We're taking on America. We've got a factory in the UK. We're mimicking everything. We're getting our gummy machines. We're manufacturing new gummy machines, filling lines. We're not going in there and dipping our toe in the water. We're going in with a big splash, and we're gonna take over the market. And you've got the big brands over there. They're gonna be pissed off when we come to the States.
Hell yeah. I can't wait to see the angry looks
It's
on their
really
faces.
interesting you say that. The Americans, I lived in America, my daughter's American, are very, very welcoming.
To the
Oh,
British.
the American
Until,
I'm on the other brands.
until you step on their toes.
Yeah.
Until you encroach on their area. And then they're like freaking sharks. They are not happy. Which is it's a very interesting we're more welcoming over here, but they're not over there. They really don't like it when you come onto their home. You come into their backyard, so be warm. But I think you guys have to. You guys
I think
have
they'll
got
be
the,
fine. I think
you
they'll
know
be
what
fine.
it is. I mean, I've known you guys for a total of 40 minutes, right? But your tenacity, your way of looking at things, your way of saying we're going to do this, in a big styly way, is terrific. I love it. Your ideas are fantastic, and the one thing the Americans love, as much as
Is
it would
innovation.
gall them, is big ideas. They
Yeah,
love
and
the big ideas.
They also they like seeing heart and soul. Americans,
yeah.
they
Yeah,
don't
they do.
use it that much. So like a lot of heart and soul isn't in what they do. So when they see heart and soul, they're actually very, like they actually kind of like it. It almost reminds them of church. It's quite lovely. It's like there is a certain passion. Passion goes a long way in America.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
2018 is when you guys basically started the company, right? 2019 is when you guys made your first big splash. 2020, we had this little pain in the ass couple of years called COVID. How did that, guys, affect you? Because you were really, I remember, September 2019 when you guys started your upward trajectory. Maybe it was March. It might have even been March 2020. Yeah, September. That was that 6-month period where you guys started to blow up. Do you know what I mean? And then COVID hit. Like, how did you guys survive COVID? How did you find it? How did you just, because, what COVID kind of basically kicked everyone in the nuts. So, I mean, like.
I think with COVID, it had a sort of a bit of an opposite effect with us, really. I think when COVID hit, because obviously the credibility that we bring to the industry and obviously what we look to offer, I think people sort of see what was going on in the world, and obviously people were working with anxiety, stress of what was happening. No one really knew what was gonna happen in the future. And I think the fact that we're so open and transparent in the things that we do, I think people sort of looked into us and believed a little bit more about us and about what our projects were, because we weren't hiding behind the screen. We were out there, posting content. We were, trying to work with the community also as much as we could during the lockdown to be able to help people with, a prime example is sending free bottles of oils out to people who were reaching out to us online and even questioning CBD and, wanting to talk about CBD because they were suffering from so much anxiety from being in the house pretty much 24/7. That reaching out and doing the extra bit for the community, it's only helped bolster us, really. It's sort of skyrocketed. It lit a firework under us, pretty much, so to speak, and that's where we sort of found out the majority.
Well, anybody can be nice in good times. It's when it's rough times that you stand out, and it's so interesting that you fellas stepped up to the plate straight away.
Especially because they were new. If they were them now,
it's an amazing thing.
Like them now with the corporate social responsibility hat on, with the OCC community and all that stuff, it makes more sense. This was 3 years ago. This was when this company was not the monster it is today. It didn't have the traction it had today. And, it was a hard time for everyone. And I just, I find that very amicable that, that's the time you chose to literally step up and help. Can I ask right at the beginning.
Let me ask a question, if I may, to the three of you. Because you've achieved great things, and I have absolutely no doubt you're going to achieve huge things. How did you get the capital to start this off? Because now it's all growing like gangbusters, but how initially, and I don't mean don't go into the numbers for me, because that's none of my business or Ollie's, but where did you get did you have the capital yourselves? Because I can't see you boys going into a bank and saying, we're thinking of doing this.
The bank could give us
the shortest meeting on record. Nice to see you, gentlemen. Bye-bye. And that'll be that. You'll be back on the street in Liverpool. But
Also, banks don't touch CBD companies. They literally don't. They literally hate us. I remember the first time I went to the bank, I was like, yeah, I need to open a bank account for what CBD company? Yeah, you're banned. I was like, what do you mean I'm banned? They go, you're banned. You need to close your other account here.
They
I was like,
banned you?
what?
Are you serious?
What? It was
Are
just
you
like
serious?
it's hard out there. So yeah, sorry.
It's interesting you say that. We've got a meeting coming up with the head of the entertainment division of a huge bank, who we've been trying to romance for years for the radio. I'm going to ask him that. I'm going to ask him that question. So, sorry, to come back to you guys, the initial capital, the seed funding, for no pun intended, where was that? Did you divvy it up together or what?
It was just savings.
Wow.
So we started small. Like, to go back to the other question about lockdown, me and Sean, we were saying, well, I'll do one day, you do one day, because we were like, when the world shut down, we were juggling like, I'll do a day, you'll do a day. And we were panicking about the wages because we both sort of quit our jobs and went full steam into it. And it was sketchy to say the least, but it didn't even happen. Like, we were planning to do a day off, day on, like doing 3 days each year, I'll do 2 days. And we didn't have a day's work. We didn't stop for solid 2 years after that. We literally didn't have a day off. It was ridiculous. But like in the March, the April, we're thinking, going, well, you do that day, I'll do that day. And yeah, it didn't pan out like that at all. The lockdown actually benefited us. It's where we've seen most of our growth.
Amazing.
It's same with us. Same with Men's Radio Station. Actually, we looked at it and we thought this could be an absolute disaster, or we can just double down and go for it. And
I think the opportunists who saw the world turning off and saw it as a time where ears are finally open and people are not doing anything, which means no one's distracted, which means this could be the right time to actually get my point across. There's one camp, and then the other camp of the world's turning off. I might as well turn off as well. When the world turns back on again, I'll turn back on again. And I feel like I did something similar to you guys. Like, lockdown made me. Started my show, like helped a lot of patients. It helped a lot of individuals. Like, during lockdown, they stopped cancer treatments. Everyone was getting the chemo pills. No one was getting their chemotherapy. And I mean, I was helping people left, right, and center. I think there was probably 200, 300 tinctures going out every month just to random people, just for free. Like a phone call from Hannah's cousin, or like a random mate of mine's uncle who's suffering, and just random people. And it was just like I learned a lot. It's almost like where I think that's where I got most of my data, like most of my ideas and most of my innovation stuff, which I'm still playing off now. It's all things which I kind of learned over lockdown, because it was quite lovely. You had that the world almost stopped, which means that when you wanted to stop, you could. And when you wanted to kind of disappear and go and learn something, there weren't the daily distractions that you have now of everyone buzzing, trying to keep things going. And, like, I'm also one of those people, just like you. I really do feel like lockdown made me. I feel like lockdown made me, smarter, because I had that opportunity to do it. And it's quite nice to see that you guys also did that, because a lot of people in our industry almost turned off. They turned off for 2 years, not knowing what to do.
You know what, Ollie? You can work harder or you can work smarter. And I know which I'd rather do.
Hell yeah.
That's our motto.
Always work harder, never work smarter.
That's your motto, yes.
I want to see the blood from the fingers. That's what I want. Okay? And then I want to feel exhausted when I hit the bed. Hard.
We've had blood on
all
fingers.
Day.
Put lids on before we had the machinery. We've had the blood on our fingers.
Oh, dude, the blisters.
Yeah.
The blisters.
And as an outsider, for listeners and watching and listening all over the world, explain why you get, because I have no idea. Why do you get blisters? What are you physically doing?
The cap's like a tincture bottle. I don't think I've got any like that.
You know, the bottle I gave you is ribbed around the edge of the tip
Yeah,
of the
sure,
tongue drop.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Try and close 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
I have enough
Try and close
trouble.
1,000,
I have
don't
enough
lift your
trouble
hands.
opening the one thing with the dropper on it.
If you don't get a blister, I will give you 500 quid. Close 1,000 bottles,
I
don't get a
haven't got
blister.
I'll give you, we'll all give you
You owe
500.
me 500
You
quid.
get $2,000. You get $2,000 for bottling 1,000 bottles and not getting a blister. You know what? Fuck it. I'll drop it to 300 bottles.
Stupid question. It's all done by hand. There's no machine.
No,
all of you do get the bottle and you do that, and
It really does depend. Like, when you're running a batch of 50,000 units, you can run it through a filling machine. But if you're
Right.
doing like a small batch of 1,000 units, the amount
Yeah.
of loss you get from running it through a filling machine is just counterintuitive. The loss is not a percentage. The loss is a volume. So if you
Got it.
like a 5 kilo wastage or 2 kilo wastage, it could be 200 units. If you're doing that on 1,000, it's 20% wastage. That basically takes away profit margin. So it's like a lot of us in this industry, because we started with an extract that was costing us so much money, our processes are designed to have zero wastage, because wastage costs so much. Unlike, you know, when you're dealing with Coca-Cola, which is sugar and water, you can throw away 100 liters and not really worry because it's cost you £3. In our world, you throw away.
It's also scale, but it's also scale, as I'm sure the guys would agree. If you're dealing with like Coca-Cola, Fanta, or anything like that, the scale of it doesn't matter because it's so huge.
Same sort of thing. So, boys, what's your view of the industry in general, the early years compared to now?
It's a lot cleaner now, the industry. You're getting a lot better quality products out there now as well than when we first started in the industry, I think. So everything's moving in the right direction, quality-wise, for the end consumer.
I think people are being forced now, aren't they? People are being forced into creating a quality product, because if you haven't got a quality product in our market at the moment, as the market stands, then you're going nowhere, you're going backwards. That's the only way that you're going. And I think it all comes down to the quality and what you put into the product, you get out tenfold.
And what do you think the biggest hurdle is in our industry?
The biggest hurdle is novel food. Simple.
Oh, okay. So I didn't bring it up. You brought it up. Let's talk about novel food.
You lead me in. You knew what I was going to say.
No, hold on. No. I thought you were going to say something like the bottles and the blisters. You know, that's what I personally thought. How would I know you were going to say novel food? I mean,
I enjoy the bottling and the blistering.
No, so go on. Novel food. Let's talk about novel food. This bane in everyone's life. Poor Russ has had to listen about so much novel food. I feel like he could get a job at the FSA now and literally be on top 4. Paul Tossell, Russ Kane is coming for you. So yeah, go on. Talk to me. Tell me about your novel food journey. You know, how have you found it?
Novel food's a good thing. We fully support it. We fully get behind it. We like the fact that the industry is going to be transparent. The thing we don't like is the different changing. And it'll be this month, it'll be that. Like, 2020, it's been going on for about 5 years, and it was still no further across. Oh, don't get me wrong. A couple of the blue chip companies, they've all been approved. Do you know what I mean? That pisses me off, to be honest with you. We were the ones that built the industry. We've been here from the start, yet we sit at the back of the queue when it comes to, because the pharmaceutical companies were going to throw a couple of million quid at it. The pioneers of the industry and that, all the people that were here at the start, like you guys, we get sort of put to the back of the queue.
It's a bit like we've done the groundwork. We put all the groundwork into the industry, and as I say, what I feel is important is bonding with other brands. Obviously, Ollie, we have a fantastic relationship. And I feel that's important to be able to get the right word out there about CBD, and you know what I mean. And I think what Novel Foods is doing is it's coming in and killing off, probably the people who shouldn't be in the industry or in the industry for the wrong reasons. But at the same time, it's also killing CBD brands that that have been working on Novel Foods for the past 4 years, 3 years before anyone's even these new companies that have started began even talking about Novel Foods. And I think it's made it quite difficult. But at the same time, it's good points and bad points about novel food. The good point for us is that we are transparent and we're 100% open, and we have no issues with inspections or with our paperwork. You know what I mean? So for us, it's been refreshing. But I can imagine for other CBD brands, it's been very difficult, especially for a lot of white label customers as well.
I think what it's done as well is created a bit of, call it tension in people.
Yeah.
So what we've seen a lot of, and I'm sure you guys would agree with this, is you've almost seen companies turning on themselves. So you've seen, almost people fucking over their business partners. Why? Because novel food's so stressful. Someone waves a bit of money in front of them and says, I can get you through novel food, but what you got to do is screw over your business partners. And people have been doing it. And there have been like 5 or 6 stories, which I've heard over the last few months, of relatively big companies, people who, not our competitors, but people who were definitely, there somewhere, like they were there in our peripheral vision, and they're like screwing each other over and screwing over their partners. And it's like a lot of these, it's like there's a bit of bad blood, which I think is almost the pressure of novel food, and that idea of people not wanting to see their babies die has made people almost kill their co-parents in order to save their children. And it's like it's quite strange, and it's something which we haven't really seen. We've seen a lot of animosity between brands, like people who treat competition as a bad thing, not a good thing. People who look at the fact that someone's your competitor and not part of your community. You know, I feel like when we look at each other, you know, like we see community, whereas a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll look at us both and they'll see competitors. And a competitor you want to destroy, in a community you're there to build with, and it's a different way of thinking. And I feel like a lot of the people who would view us as competitors, those people who have that mindset, they're viewing people who they've built businesses with as competitors, you know, and there's a lot of harm. Like, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but you've recently hired a few people who were really badly screwed over by their colleagues. And to be honest with you, I want to mention the name, but I'm not going to, because it's not worth a war. And if I get them on the show in a few weeks' time, I want to make sure I've got good blood. I mean, like, it's happening, and you're hearing these stories. You're like, I never thought he would do that. You know, and it's that whole idea of, you know, like, really, him, like, he's doing that to them, but they've been together for years. And it's just, I feel like it's created this, you call it this tension within people, which isn't right. And it's created this, you know, this really bad character trait in some of the people in our industry. You know what I'm talking about,
But
right?
you know what, Ollie? You know what, guys? It's the same as the music industry, and the great saying in the music industry is, where there's a hit, there's a writ. Every single time, nearly every record that is a hit, there will be a law case. It's quite extraordinary, and anyone in the music industry will tell you, where there's a hit, there's a writ. And it sounds the same. You know, as soon as things get successful,
There's
whatever,
a mess.
boom.
Success brings mess.
Yeah, it does.
It really does. But that's one thing you guys have got good. You've got a good work culture, and you seem to be one of these places where a lot of these, you call it lost puppies, seem to find a good home. And your team, like you said, is growing stronger and stronger. And you've got some incredible people from the industry who have joined you guys recently. Some fantastic formulators, some incredible marketing brains. You know, you've got like a really great team, which is growing, and it only shows more about the ethos of the company that you've built. You know, the fact that you are, don't want to say a shelter, but, you know, like you really are. You're a shelter for patients to understand where their products are coming from. You're a shelter for people in the community who have, you know, unfortunately been screwed out of their homes. You guys, as people, you know, you've built something which is incredible, and like, you should be super proud of yourself. Do you guys ever take a moment to just stop and look at what you've built and how positively recognized you are as a company? Do you guys ever just, like, because I know you said for the 2 years you haven't really stopped. Do you guys ever just take a moment and almost look at yourselves the same way other people do?
I will
Or
bet
do you ever
my house the answer is no.
Yeah, I think the way that our brains work is any downtime is improvement time. So whenever we're downtime and we think that we're maybe relaxing watching TV, we're really not. We're all phones in hand, innovating, thinking of different ideas, different ways in which we can, you know, motivate staff, different ways we can turn around the business, things that we can implement to make us a better brand. That's what we spend our downtime doing. That's what we find enjoyment from.
I think with us not being a corporate, one of those Nancy fancy bloody big outfits, you know, we can pivot on the spin of a dice. As soon as something happens, we can activate it, and we can get in a room, discuss something, and pull it off half an hour later. So, like,
that's the beauty. That is the beauty. You don't need a committee. You don't need a focus group. You come up with a great thing. You go, let's do it, guys. You go, yeah, and it's done. And that's the way forward. Always has.
It doesn't take 6 months of report writing to pitch an idea before everyone else has then copied your idea in the industry, because it's innovative, but someone else is going to get the idea. Or it's not like, yeah, I understand that completely. You guys should take a moment.
Sorry, one very quick question. I just wanted to get the scope of the company. How many staff do you have?
I don't know.
You don't know.
35, 37.
Wow. Okay. Amazing.
12 times bigger than you guys were 4 years ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And this is just and I know, I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. This is just the beginning.
Amen, amen. Russ's mouth to God's ears. So, closing statements. If people want to get hold of Orange County CBD, if someone wants a free ice cream, where can they find you?
Jump online and get in the
Orange County community and stuff.
Yeah, I think we want to really plug the Orange County community. That's where our passion lies, and that's where we're going to be putting our focus. We've built lovely website, by the way. I was looking at it, and it's really welcoming, and it's beautifully designed too. So just for that, bravo. Again, we're having a rebuild next week.
It's a rubbish website, and if I rebuild it,
user experience is terrible. You need to change that. Spend that money.
Yeah. No, literally, we're launching our new website on, I think, the 10th of August, and we've ripped up the rule book and we've totally rebranded. So it's a bold move what we've done, but we've done it to sort of to get to the next level, because we're trying to be a world dominating brand, and again, we brainstormed and we've come up with ideas, and we know our shortcomings, and we'll change it. We're not.
You know what you guys? We've got to go in a second. You know what you guys remind me of when you look back at the and I'm being serious. I'm not being facetious. When you look back at the very early days of Apple, and you look back, and I worked alongside. That's a long story. I'll tell you another time. And the Steve Jobs, and you see these guys how they were, not how they became, but how they were when they were starting, like working out of a garage. And you three, I've got to say, really remind me of how those guys started, with that enthusiasm and that level of commitment. And they grew into...
And the reason. They had a reason for being there as well.
They had a purpose. They had a purpose. That's it. We're completely out of time. In fact, we've slightly overrun. You, Orange County, bless you. You've been absolutely. I've loved this show. I have loved
great show, right?
Second of this show. And see, you were all nervous. Did you enjoy yourselves? There we go. Ollie Mammon,
love you guys, man. Thank you so much for joining us today.
We will be back next Thursday, 6 o'clock. Until then, stay out of trouble.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
I'd love to.